Have you noticed in the past couple weeks how there has been a flurry of concern and reports about major demographic issues, primarily around aging populations and the decline of the baby boomer generation? I certainly have. It's a major issue in China, Japan, the United States, Canada, and many other countries around the world. There was basically a population explosion after World War II. And these people grew up during a period in which there was a lot of reconstruction after the Great War. There are a lot of concerns about how we will fund health care for all of these aging people and what will happen because government revenues from taxes will decrease as these people rapidly retire. This cohort is also arguably the most privileged in all of human history. The population explosion required a tremendous amount of economic activity and investment in order to sustain them. And they benefited from rapidly advancing technology and unprecedented improvements in the quality of life, medicine, education, healthcare, etc. So there are also a lot of concerns about what will happen to the staggering levels of wealth that were accumulated by this unusually privileged generation. Meanwhile, currently, the birth rate is in decline dramatically around the world. Now, personally, I don't see that as being bad because we have overburdened our environment, but our absurd and dysfunctional economic system requires relentless growth in order to function, even though that defies both the laws of physics and nature. But that's a separate issue. In my opinion, if governments are freaking out about this situation, it demonstrates inexcusable and gross incompetence, mismanagement. They have known this was coming for decades. And if they failed, and it looks like they did, to prepare for this, it's, like I said, just inexcusable incompetence. And shame on them. They should be held accountable for this, but like with many things, I am skeptical that that will occur. We really need to do something about that. The burden of this criminal negligence will likely fall on subsequent generations. And it's already extremely difficult for young people, like millennials. When the boomers require more advanced and significant health care, the costs will be astronomical. If you think we have a problem now with deficits and government debt, fasten your seatbelts. The perverse form of punishment known as austerity may have been a mere prelude, as social programs and entitlements, which are not entitlements at all, actually, will be overtaxed and simultaneously underfunded out of existence. The Hunger Games comes to mind. Astrologically, the baby boomer generation is associated with the Pluto in Leo generation. Pluto was in Leo starting in 1937 up through 1958. And there was transitional periods at the beginning and end of that. But the Pluto in Leo generation is very clearly linked with the baby boomers. Leo being ruled by the sun, everything is big. Population explosion. Reproduction on a mass scale. prosperity and abundance, power and strength, optimism, fortitude, and in its lower expression, narcissism or self-interest. Ego. The ruler of Leo is the sun, and everything revolves around the sun. It is the center of attention. Now, something very important to tie this all together for you to consider. Pluto is just about to shift for the first time since 1777, 1778. Pluto is about to shift into Aquarius again. The sign of Aquarius opposes the sign of Leo. Pluto, by transit, will be opposing the natal Pluto of anyone born in the Pluto in Leo generation, also known as a Pluto opposition, a generational transit. I actually don't know what the percentage of the world's population who are boomers is, but it's significant. So I find it extremely interesting that just as Pluto is transitioning to 29 degrees of Capricorn and will make a dramatic entry into Aquarius in less than 2 months from now, suddenly everyone is concerned about this issue. And I think what we're going to see is effectively that there will be a major shift in the status of the Pluto and Leo generation, which is already commencing. I just find the timing of this completely remarkable. Anyway, my main point was just connecting the dots astrologically with the whole demographic time bomb issue. I think it's absolutely fascinating. Now, if any boomers are listening to this, and some of you most certainly are boomers, I don't want you to freak out about this. It's just that it's time for the boomer generation to pass the torch, basically. And society kind of needs to reinvent itself to deal with these huge changes and challenges. Someone born in 1950, for example, is now 73 years old. And by the end of Pluto in Aquarius, they will be in their 90s if they're still here. And again, the timing is, well, you couldn't make this up. That overnight, the world is freaking out about the baby boomer demographic time bomb, just as Pluto is on the verge of entering Aquarius. So like I said, I just wanted to draw your attention to that. Take care, and we'll talk to you again soon. Wheel?